waste is devil. Let me explain. So, perhaps I'm being a little metaphorical here, right? But in reality, waste can be almost evil in terms of the effect and the destructive effects. And it compounds. It gets bigger than you ever thought possible. So, let me explain. To be honest, many people would consider me wasteful in many areas of my personal life. At some point in time, you have to make a realization that, I could fix a problem, but I have to choose which problems I fix. So not fixing one problem could mean waste in one area. And I have to choose an area of my life based on all my values, which makes for the least wasted energy. Energy converts. Money is energy. Time is energy. Or it represents some spending of energy during that time, right? And so, the resources you have, once they are spent, and time spends itself for you, you just have to decide whether to step in or step out of it. The time it's going to go on without you, right? So you choose to be involved and be useful or not. And so, like in a work context, I've seen things happen where where someone just says, I'm getting paid for this. I'd rather it take longer, or I'm just going to sit around and do nothing or take a break. And by the way, breaks aren't necessarily wasteful. Some of them you may officially be paid for, and some maybe not, depending on your relationship with the company, here anyways, or any other place that you might be working. But oftentimes they increase total productivity. So is it waste? That's why many companies pay for some breaks, right? And some of them are forced to, legally, depending on the situation. But at the end of the day, we see like materials wasted, sometimes just ways of doing things where you did half a job and then you knew you should have finished while you were there, but instead you had to make an extra visit, which ended up being like, by the time you drove around to get there, a whole day, like a half a day of work, right? So you think, well, what the heck? It's someone else is paying for it. They have bottomless things. They charge me on so much money on me that it doesn't matter. I'm just taking what's mine, right? Fine. And at the end of the day, you have to realize that even if someone makes $1 billion on you, if there's a kind of understanding or agreement, whether it's in written contract or social contract, like basically, like eye to eye, I said it, we agree, we both had a common understanding, right? I'm trading my time for money, right? That if you make an agreement and you don't honor it, suddenly your value becomes almost next to nothing, right? So you start to see these issues, and the value of trust that's implicit in that is broken, and so suddenly, like nothing you say or nothing you do, there's kind of an implicit agreement. Not only do I give my time, but I give my trust, everything that I am in that time, right? You lose all of that, and so suddenly your value suddenly becomes dramatically less, to the point where if we're trusting you to make good decisions, to be engaged during the time that we're paying for, right? And all you do is spend money, we're paying you, but like you're doing it 2 or 3, 4 times cost, like what it should have cost in terms of time, then ultimately, like, we're not selling your time typically. Sometimes we are as a company, but even if we are, we can't bill it if it's wasted, right? So that's not even something we can sell. Like, you did nothing. We can't sell that to somebody else. And if we have a flat rate and then we're paying you by hour, there's actually so many other costs that most workers don't know, because you have a whole organization that's being supported, that's supporting, selling, insurance, costs, the cost of people that do waste. We still have to pay for all that. And it ends up being huge. And so someone says, a few hours there, a few hours there. That happens, and if we don't catch it right away, multiple people are doing it, it could literally bleed all of the money out of a company, just a few people doing that, so quickly that the entire company has to shut down, right? Like, you think, it's no big deal. The company makes a lot of money. No, it actually is a big deal. And that is people's lives at stake, but also it's honor, it's goodness, it's virtue, right? And so when you see that, you realize, when you see somebody doing that, you realize, there's a real character issue. This person is in their essence someone that doesn't really want to bring value, is not really a worthwhile or high performance team member. They're not capable of doing great things if they don't change their character significantly, which usually only happens with devastating pain and devastating loss. Most people don't change, right? Because they don't see any reason to. They wouldn't be the way they are if they didn't believe that that was the right person to be. That's the one they deeply have conviction. So unless you have some devastating change, you typically don't change, which is why suddenly you wonder why someone who has that problem, why did they have a hard time finding a job and keeping it? Why do their relationships transition slightly? Why are they so unhappy? You want to know what? If you are a type of person that doesn't choose to give more than you receive in every area, you're not actually going to even give what you receive, because our perceptions are always skewed, right? We always think that we gave more than we did, and the other person that you're in a relationship with always thinks that you gave less, because values are different. So if you don't give more, even more than you think you should, you oftentimes will find yourself in a real position of feeling righteous, like, yeah, I did everything, and at the same time, no one else sees it that way, right? Which, even if you're right, you still have to reconcile the fact that people see it differently, and you prefer to relate to those people, or maybe some value in having that relationship still, above and beyond who's right and who's wrong. And so ultimately, it's that understanding that's going to allow you to be successful in every single area of your life. It's not just about business, right? And at the end of the day, a lot of this is about what you think about yourself. When you start to undermine your own truth, your own integrity, you start to deeply affect your own sense of well-being. Because at the end of the day, you know that you're that person that will basically steal, right? Basically undermine the contracts, I'm putting that in quotes, in your life. And so even though you might think, well, I got away with it, and that's okay because they're good without me, at the end of the day, you reap that reward into you. You understand yourself to be somebody, and you reinforce that in a way that makes you almost unable to really do well in any scenario or be truly successful, right? And not only that, it's that the instant knowledge that you are not a person of character. It does something to you. You have a deep need to serve. That is the way we were created. The happiest people actually give without anything in receipt, right? They find ways to do that in their life. Because it turns out when it focuses you outward, that's what you needed. It's our internal focus that causes all the unhappiness in life. That extreme, just like internal focus, me. We actually can't. It's an anti-relationship mindset. And when you turn it out, suddenly we realize we don't need a lot of the things we need. We actually just need to relate with other individuals in an unselfish way. And that was our most important nutrient for living, right? That was the most important thing. And so, for so many reasons, if you don't bring the servant mindset, if you don't bring kind of like, you know what, I'm going to do as good as I can, and kind of a faith that you will get rewarded either way, whether somebody rewards you or even it's just an internal reward. Like if nothing else, when you choose to give, you're pushing yourself a little bit, and you increase your capacity to do more, right? So that's what you really want. That's even if you don't know, you think I don't need that. No, you actually do, and you go from a period of like kind of destruction and loss, and you think you're gaining, but you're not, to actually being someone who can create and co-create. And when you're doing that, you allow other people in your life and every area of your life to reflect back, to learn, to also be producers. And you all share in all of the extra production. That's kind of the idea here, and why it's not just important for us as a company in the way that you relate, but also important for you in every area of your life. I hope that helps.